All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III here. It's Monday morning. I have some great stuff that I want to talk with you about today. So I hope you are getting your week off to a great start. But here's the good news. Even if it started out a little rocky, you can change that right now. So I want to talk to you about how to ask questions that will change your life and move you in a positive direction for your ultimate destiny. So over the last, let's say, I think it's been about 5 weeks now, we've been reviewing the steps that you would go through in this Creating Your Ultimate Destiny program. So if you haven't picked up that book yet, the book Creating Your Ultimate Destiny, an audiobook, it's available at jointheevolution.com. That's jointheevolution.com. Not sure why I picked that URL, but it seemed very appropriate. So go to that. The book is free. We'll ship you a free copy. Just cover the shipping. I think it's like $9 for the shipping, and get a copy of it. But over the last 5 Mondays, so every Monday I'm taking you through one of these steps, we've covered the first 5 in this Creating Your Ultimate Destiny program. So let me review those with you real quick. And if you haven't listened to them, go back and listen on every Monday for the last 5 weeks. But the first one was the question of what's your ultimate destiny and how to truly identify your beliefs and how your beliefs shape your destiny. The second step was how to live your destiny right now. And that's through empowering decisions and the decisions that you make in your life. The third step was destiny shaping decisions, like how you take your decisions and translate them to actions in your life to create your destiny. The fourth step we talked about was redefining your identity. In other words, what's your true self? What's your identity? How do you create, define, and build an empowering self-identity? And then fifth was extending your knowledge and how you can apply this process of education through the experiences you have in life to create empowering beliefs and drive your results altogether. So go back and listen to those. But today I want to talk to you about just a really, really important one, and that is the questions that you're asking yourself that will shape your life. Because your questions are going to determine your focus, right? Your focus in what you're working on, where you're going, the direction you have, they're all going to be determined by your questions that you ask. So we begin most of everything we talk about in the field of personal development and even, financial success, prosperity, communication, whatever it is, with this understanding that your thoughts create your life, right? We talk about how your thoughts are going to create your life. So let's think about, where do your thoughts actually come from? If your thoughts are creating your life, how do you manage these thoughts, and where do they come from? Well, obviously they come from, how you were raised, and they come from the people that you're around, and your thoughts come from your environment, where and how you lived, right? And they even come from the problems and circumstances in life that you're dealing with right now. That's what creates your thoughts. But these are all sources of your thoughts. But I think if you think about it, there's something much more to it than that. And that is that most thoughts are preceded by a question. Questions about your parents, or your life, or your circumstances, or your environment, or even problems you're facing with. How do I deal with that? What are they thinking? Where do I go? What am I doing? What's my schedule? How do I pay bills? Most thoughts are preceded by a question. So regardless of where those areas are, it's important for us to understand that questions are what are really shaping our lives. And unfortunately, most of the questions are internal, right? They're this internal dialogue with yourself. Have you ever been sitting there and you're listening, or you're just sitting there and you're asking yourself questions like, what should I do today? And where am I going? And what are they thinking of me? This is an internal chatter and a dialogue that many of us leave unchecked and untamed. And your mind, although it can be your greatest tool, can be your greatest asset, can be your greatest enemy as well. And you know what I'm talking about. So the real question you need to ask yourself is, are the questions that you're asking in your internal mind or in life, are they empowering you, or are they disempowering you? Are they working against you to create and manage thoughts? Because if you're asking questions that are leading to negative thoughts or disempowering thoughts, you're not going to be creating your life, and you're not going to be resonating, like Bob Proctor would say, in this law of vibration that's going to attract success and happiness into your life. So the first thing you need to do is discover the types of questions that you're asking yourself all day. And then you need to uncover we'll talk about in a minute, this primary question, because all of us have a primary question, a main question we continue to ask ourselves through our life. Like, what are they thinking of me? Or how do I protect myself? Or how do I make this success out of this company? Let me give you some examples of how the primary question, or even questions you're asking yourself, can be empowering or disempowering. So let's imagine you're asking yourself all the time, what are they thinking about me? Well, the positive of that is you want to create good impressions. And so you're trying to be, productive and successful and be recognized for that. The negative part of that question, what are they thinking about me, is that you're focused on what people think about you. And that's not a good thing. So you can see how that question can help you and hurt you. Another question is, how can I protect myself? If you're thinking, how can I protect myself in relationships or life or whatever, that's a good thing because you're alert to the threat of danger, but it's a bad thing, a negative, when you're focused on looking around for things to hurt you rather than identifying opportunities and ways to grow. Another question you could ask yourself is, how can I make this particular company profitable or successful? Well, the positive is you want to make the company successful and do well. The negative is you may be focused too much on playing not to lose rather than how to win. When you're worried about keeping the company profitable, you might be playing not to lose rather than to win. I hope that makes sense. And here's a question that I've asked myself a lot through life, and many of you have this as your primary question. How can I make it better? How can I make it better? Those of you that have worked around me know that I do this a lot. The positive is you truly want to create things and make them better. The negative is nothing's ever good enough. You're always seeing flaws. You're always seeing the stuff that's not working rather than things that are working. You're in a scarcity mentality versus an abundant mentality. Does that make sense? And another one that comes up a lot lately, especially with COVID and everybody being at home, is what's the purpose of my life? So many of us are caught up in trying to figure out what our purpose and passion are. And that's a good thing, right? That thought could be positive because you want to know why you're here and you want to make changes in your life. But it could be an extreme negative because you're just focused on yourself. And when you're worried about yourself and not others, you're not creating your own purpose. You're not empowering yourself to just create your purpose. So the objective I have today, and the whole message I want to share with you, is that I want to compel you to ask a better question. Let me say that one more time. You've got to learn to ask a better question, because great questions empower you in your life. Bad questions disempower you in your life. So the first thing to remember is that the construct or the framework or the filter of the question itself would determine whether it's empowering or disempowering. So going into these questions, you have to understand why you're doing it. So let me give you a few steps to go through. First, always seek to ask empowering questions and structure them in a way that they seem empowering. Second, internalize your questions into your subconscious mind on a daily basis. Internalize them by constant with affirmations and proactive learning. And, live your life as if it's an answer to a profound cosmic question on how you can create in your life. The third thing is to use a strong imagination when you're asking questions. What you want to do is you want to visualize solutions to problems and create your inspiration or discover your own motivation. But use a strong imagination when you're asking questions and don't limit yourself. And the final thought, the fourth thing I wanted to mention is don't let the limiting opinions of other people limit your imagination when you're asking questions. Don't let other people's lack of belief in future and you being able to create whatever you want in life, or the naysayers, don't let their limiting opinions drive you to limit your questions. Stretch your imagination. The questions that you ask will determine the direction of your life. And so why not ask empowering, strong, reaching questions? So that's my message for today, but I want to give you a couple of things to think about, maybe an exercise for you to consider. What are some questions that you can start asking yourself about your life in general? Let's start asking, about, question things, question your life. And what questions can you ask to improve your life? When you ask with the intent of improving your life, how do I increase my better my daily routine, my home life, my community, my business, my service, my own personal growth? Ask questions that can lead you to strong answers and strong thoughts. And what questions are you asking yourself every day? Think about that for a minute. Go back through your thought process. What is it you're asking yourself? And are these empowering? And if they're not, how can you reword the questions that you're asking? Instead of saying, how can I create more success in my life? Maybe you're going to ask yourself how you can continue to love and be grateful for what you have and constantly go to the next level. This whole idea of blissful dissatisfaction rather than just being unhappy with where you're at. And then finally, I want you to ask yourself and really put some thought into what is your primary question that you're asking in your life? And is it serving you? Meaning, if you're constantly stressed about trying to take care of and wonder what other people are thinking, and that's not serving you, guess what? You create your life. You can change the primary questions you're asking yourself, but you can only do it if you're conscious about it. If you're subconsciously asking all these questions and you're never wondering and asking, quote unquote, I'm doing that on the video here, quote unquote, if you're not asking yourself if that question is empowering, then how are you going to ever fix it? So that's my thought for today. I really, really encourage you to ask empowering, better questions in your life, because I know that will help you. I know it will take you to the next level. And then next week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your unique talent and literally discovering your life's purpose. So I hope you'll join me next Monday. For now, my name is George Wright III. This has been the Daily Mastermind, and I want to ask you one more time to share this episode. Tag me in your stories. Tag me at the Daily Mastermind and let me know that you're sharing it. I really appreciate it. I think it'll make a big difference for people in the world, and I look forward to talking with you more tomorrow. Have an amazing day.